Okay, let's jump in. We're embarking on a mission today that takes us deep into a highly philosophical and theological vision of existence.
Hmm, that's a good way to put it. We're really exploring the requirements for achieving ultimate victory and peace.
And our source for this is pretty specific. It's all from excerpts of a 1982 address by Sun Myung Moon titled The Path of True Love, Victory, and Universal Peace.
Right, and this is a deep dive where the structure is really the whole story. The material is, it's rigorous. It gives these non-conventional, often surprising definitions for concepts we think we know.
Like what?
Well, terms like victory, movement, and even what constitutes God's needs. It's a
Yeah.
fully integrated system.
So our mission then is to move beyond just summarizing it. We want to understand the intricate machinery of this system.
Exactly.
What are the extreme requirements placed on an individual to become what the text calls a perfect object to God? And how does this idea of spiritual geometry define success?
Precisely. And we should start at the ground level with victory. The definition is deceptively simple.
Okay.
Victory, the source says, just means that some obstacle or difficulty has been overcome or, and I like this word, digested.
Digested. So it's not just about winning a war or some big prize.
No, not at all. The text frames everyday life, walking, studying, managing your time as a constant struggle for these small victories.
Because you're always facing some kind of opposing force that you have to digest.
Exactly. If you're walking, gravity is an opposing force. If you're learning, ignorance is an opposing force. You need enough power or spiritual energy to digest that opposition and move forward.
And this is where the strategy gets really interesting. The source makes this critical distinction, moving victory away from brute force and into, like, physics. The difference between moving in a straight line versus moving in a circle.
Yes. If your life or your action continues on an unbroken straight line path, you are guaranteed to have continuous struggle. It's head-on opposition, always.
It's like you're always meeting your opponent exactly where they're strongest.
Right. But the text argues that circling movement is what's necessary to appease and mollify the opposition.
And the analogy it uses to visualize this it's really powerful. It's the pool ball principle.
Yeah, that's a great visual. Imagine hitting a pool ball straight. Doesn't matter how hard you strike it, it immediately starts to turn or slip out of that direct confrontation.
It's designed to roll away, to circle, instead of just meeting the force head on.
So the lesson isn't really physical. It's a spiritual and psychological discipline. It requires what the source calls a round mind.
A round mind. I like that.
That round mind, or circling motion, is the key. It's how you secure victory without generating constant, exhausting conflict. If you meet confrontation with a circling action, you eventually turn the opposition into a force that actually, accelerates your own momentum.
Instead of just having a straight fight every time.
Right. You're turning opposition into fuel. That's how you accumulate spiritual wealth.
It's a fascinating discipline, though. The constant effort to maintain that non-confrontational circling geometry in the face of all these straight-line challenges.
It really is.
It suggests the path to victory is less about being strong and more about being flexible.
And that leads us right to the highest expression of victory, which is the pursuit of true love. Because if maintaining that round mind requires so much effort, you have to ask, what is the cost of the ultimate prize?
And this transition in the text is pretty jarring. It immediately contrasts how easy it is to say you want true love with the reality of actually getting it. The language gets incredibly visceral here.
It does. It asks a question that's really designed to shock you into realizing the gravity of this pursuit. It asks, is the path to true love more painful than pulling out one of your eyes or chopping off a limb?
And the immediate answer, which is just shocking, is yes.
Still yes.
You might lose 2 eyes, an arm, a leg, but you still need true love. It's not presented as, like, a desirable sacrifice.
No, it's more of a stark recognition that without it, all the other physical comforts are basically worthless.
It just raises the stakes to the absolute limit.
If true love doesn't just show up, the mandate is clear.
Yeah.
You have to go get it. And the path is described over and over again as very, very difficult.
It requires a level of absolute commitment that, it goes beyond physical life.
And that level of commitment extends even to the absolute being. Which brings us to a major paradox in this theology, the needs of God.
Right.
What's so fascinating here is the core premise that love can't be initiated by just one person. For love to be consummated, even God, the absolute subject, needs an object.
Love is defined by that circuit of give and take.
Yes, so if God is unique, absolute, unchanging, and eternal,
Yeah.
those are the four essential characteristics.
It makes perfect sense that his object, the thing he's in a relationship with, has to have those same four qualities.
He can't settle for something temporary or, something that's going to change.
This elevates the status of humanity, the required object, to a really extraordinary degree.
It does. But if God has everything, what does he actually want? The source says that true love is the house where God wants to dwell.
It's so specific. It says God does not want to live alone in a golden palace, or just think, or work, or sleep forever. He's seeking happiness.
A smile.
And the only element that allows anyone, even God, to keep smiling forever is love, which, necessitates a good object to complete that give and take circuit. A spiritual wife, spiritual children.
And this need for a complementary object is shown so well through earthly attraction. I mean, think of the handsome, highly educated man who has every credential. He might seem stoic, but he only lights up, his whole demeanor changes when a beautiful woman approaches.
It's reverse. The small, delicate woman sitting quietly. When her big, tough husband comes into the room, she lights up. Her eyes sparkle like she's getting an electrical charge.
It shows that love has to have this magnetic pull that's stronger than the power of sleep. It demands constant engagement.
The give and take.
So if that's the goal, to be that perfect complementary object, what is the human mandate? What do we have to do? It means we have to mirror God's own nature. To become the true object to God, human beings have to develop those same four characteristics: unique, absolute, unchanging, and eternal.
That is a staggering thing to ask. It implies total self-mastery.
It really does. The source insists that the individual has to reach a point of spiritual maturity where they can confidently, boldly declare to God, "You cannot find anyone better than me as your object. I am the one for you."
That kind of audacity requires total conviction. I can see why the path is so difficult.
Exactly. And the journey to true love is characterized by crossing these four essential requirements, which the source describes as bridges.
Bridges, okay.
The unique bridge, the unchanging bridge, the absolute bridge, and the eternal bridge.
So these bridges are like developmental stages. You're spanning a gap between our current changing relative state and that absolute eternal state you need for union with God.
Precisely. You have to secure uniqueness, absolute loyalty, unchangeable character, and eternal commitment before you can meet true love.
And it goes beyond character. The object also has to engage God through all five senses: vision, hearing, smell, taste, touch. How do you please the divine senses?
It requires speaking ecstatically joyful words, and maybe most uniquely, cultivating a good smell. The source calls this the spiritual moony smell.
The moony smell, that term, it sounds strange.
It does, but it functions as this powerful metaphor for a spiritual fragrance. It's the emanation of pure, selfless love that the text says Satan hates, but God loves. It's a literal manifestation of your spiritual purity.
That makes more sense.
And this emphasis on the object's position dictates the approach. Since God is the masculine subject, the human object has to adopt the objective or feminine position.
And this isn't about gender roles, is it? It's more about a posture of humility and sincere yearning.
Exactly. Instead of demanding or shouting roughly at God, the instruction is to approach with utmost sincerity, saying softly, "My dear God, I have missed you so much. My heart has been broken, yearning for you."
It's that artistic sincerity that inspires the absolute subject to take you in.
Right. And once that individual relationship is set, we move to the framework for relationships within the family and the universe. The source outlines this structural model based on two essential lines of love. It's got a spiritual geometry.
This is the intersection of the vertical and horizontal lines, right? The vertical line is the relationship to God descending through the Father to the eldest son.
Yes, that defines the subjective role. And the horizontal line represents the mother's love. Its function is crucial. It links all the parallel vertical lines, all the father-son relationships together.
So the interaction of that perfectly straight vertical love and the perfectly aligned horizontal love, that's what creates the complete circle of the family unit.
And that family is defined as the basic unit of the kingdom of heaven. But here's the mechanism for conflict.
Okay.
If the vertical line, your individual connection to God, deviates even by a few degrees, its intersection with the horizontal line creates a distorted circle, more like an oval.
And that oval leads directly to conflict and confrontation, not just in the family, but it ripples out into the universe.
Right. Harmony depends on maintaining a perfectly straight vertical line united with God.
This relational model leads to what I think is the most provocative insight in the entire source: the conclusion that true love is bigger than God.
It is genuinely staggering when you first read it.
Yeah. How can the ultimate goal be bigger than the ultimate subject?
It's a consequence of the geometry. God is defined only as the vertical being. By himself, as the vertical, he can't achieve the complete circular motion of love.
He needs the horizontal line, the object, to wrap around and complete the circuit.
Yes. So the completeness of love, that circular motion, is dependent on the object. True love, the perfect circle that results, includes and completes God, but it's inherently greater than God's vertical existence alone.
Wow. Okay. So the moment a person has true love, by being that perfect object, they have absolutely everything.
Everything in the universe, because they've facilitated the complete system.
And that explains why the souls put such intense emphasis on family service. It's about honoring that vertical line.
Serving your parents and grandparents is explicitly called the best workshop for heaven.
A workshop for heaven.
The reasoning is very pragmatic. In the spirit world, you have to live with a multitude of people for eternity. So the more relatives you serve on earth, the better prepared you are for those spiritual multitudes.
It's like an internship for eternity. And refusing to serve your parents, the text says, is basically like denying God.
Because they're the physical manifestation of that vertical line in your life, it makes service a required spiritual discipline, not just, a nice thing to do.
Which brings us to the tactics for dealing with conflict: radical forgiveness and patience.
Absolutely necessary for maintaining that straight vertical line. The source gives this powerful, really counterintuitive teaching on confrontation. It's almost like a spiritual aikido.
Tell me more.
If someone attacks you without justification and you do not hit back, even after 10 or 20 times, the attacker will eventually become low, small, and just surrender.
So the idea is that attacking without cause creates a spiritual debt in the aggressor.
Exactly. If you hit back, a battle starts, you both accumulate conflict. But if you just absorb it, the aggressor eventually has to surrender to the spiritual purity of the one they attacked.
This makes patience, sacrifice, and service the greatest virtues, especially in a marriage. The patient man becomes the true subject.
And this virtue is absolutely crucial when you're dealing with enemies. When a person is one step away from meeting with God, they can't waste energy fighting.
They have to forgive them and move forward to the greater purpose, like Jesus on the cross.
The required scale of patience is even quantified. Be patient up to 3 times, then 7 times, and finally 12 times.
And 12 times represents an entire circle, a full cycle of endurance you need to completely digest the conflict.
Yes. This internal victory over retaliation is the foundation for individual peace. And individual peace, Article 1, is defined as unity between your mind, the vertical element, the subject, and your body, the object.
The body should obey the mind without any struggle or suffering.
This internal unity is the microcosm of the larger goal. The source even points to the Chinese symbol for peace. It shows God's level and humanity's level linked by a vertical line, containing a cross of equal length lines.
Symbolizing that peace originates through family unity, that vertical and horizontal juncture, which is only possible if the individual is unified internally.
So if we tie all these strings together, the life goal is this radical self-perfection, achieving the characteristics of being unique, unchanging, absolute, and eternal, all to establish that true love circuit with God and create peace on earth.
And this leads to the final, really high-stakes warning.
That the conflicts and barriers of life, from mind-body disunity to marital strife to national disharmony, they must be solved or digested while you are on earth.
That directly echoes the biblical idea. Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosened in heaven.
Right. And the source states that if you fail to digest these barriers on earth, you have to spend an astronomical amount of time, a millennium, breaking them down to the spirit world.
The spirit world is not a place for spiritual procrastination.
Not at all. And the alternative to achieving that circular harmony isn't some peaceful isolation, because the only place for true isolation, the source says, is in the cells of hell.
So victory is inherently relational, communal, and expansive.
The entire system requires you to constantly expand your circle of digestion. From unifying your mind and body, to serving your family, to forgiving your enemies, to resolving conflict on a national and global scale.
Until you have digested God's level of love.
Wow.
We've learned that the goal of victory is universal peace, achieved through a round mind, a patient heart, and the absolute pursuit of a true love which is ultimately bigger than God. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on.
Okay.
If ultimate victory requires you to expand your effort to digest conflict outside of your immediate life circle and you want to avoid that millennium of cleanup in the spirit world, how much of your current daily effort is actually focused on appeasing and mollifying the opposition you encounter on the tribal, national, or even global level right now?